Welcome to Dice Doodles, the show where I am a slave to my dice and do exactly as they say, at least in regards to character design. The dice tell us what to draw based on my Dice Doodle map, and we design the character in Procreate and then animate it in Moho Pro animation software. Today we have been commanded to draw a Zombie Fennec Fox using 3 rounded triangles. If you haven't seen a Fennec Fox before, they are so cute, and they look like this. Fortune has smiled on us today because 3 rounded triangles actually sounds perfect for a head, body, and tail, so we'll go with that. I start by blocking out the basic shapes we're working with and putting them in the position I want them to be in. Zombies have bad posture and tend to lurch around, so I'm going to have the body triangle really slouching forwards. I am terrible at spatial orientation and figuring out how big a drawing needs to be or where it should go on a blank canvas, so I frequently need to reposition or resize my rough artwork before I can put any real detail into it. But hey, that's what rough work is for. I figure a person or a fox is only a zombie if they've been bitten by another zombie, so I'm going to add a cartoony bite mark right out of the tail here. Again, I want him to feel lurchy, so I've got his arms going straight down in front of him in a hunch, and when it comes to animating him, I'll probably make them independently floppy from the rest of him using the Bone Dynamics feature in Moho Pro. I want the eyes to be vacant looking, so I'm going to make them different sizes, and I'm picturing thicker outlines for them. I'm also going to have some zombie scarring under one of the eyes. I'm also going to anthropomorphize him a bit and give him a shirt. At this point, I'm not really sure whether I'm going to give him pants as well or whether we are going to Winnie the Pooh / Donald Duck it. Here's a pro tip. Flip your drawings. It will help you see any areas that are out of proportion or at a weird angle. Our eyes can get used to the way something looks, and so flipping your canvas if you're drawing on the computer or holding it up to a mirror if you're drawing on paper will really highlight whatever you're missing, whatever needs work, and will really up the overall quality of the art. Do I forget to do this most times? Yes, but I remembered this time, so that's good. Shockingly, I don't see any mistakes, so I'm going to give him some pants and keep going. If you see any mistakes, let me know in the comments. Please don't. My ego can't handle it. I have so little. Give me this. Here is the color palette I'm working with. I am terrible at color theory, so a lot of the time I will use an app called Coolers, which will randomly generate a color palette for you. And since this whole series is about leaving creative decisions up to chance, I feel that's appropriate. So I generate a palette and just go with whatever comes up first. I had made the color palette before I started filming, so it's already in there, but typically I will color pick each color on the palette and then find a shade lighter and a shade darker on the square swatch, and that gives me some more options while keeping it in the same theme. To start the line art / outline process, I create a new layer and then reduce the opacity on my sketch layer so that whatever line I draw will be distinct from my sketch. I'm using the dry ink brush for the outlines. It's a default brush in Procreate's brush library. It's really rough looking without being uncontrollable, so it's great for more stylized drawings of a certain type. For these drawings, I'm also going to avoid using black as an outline. Whatever the color fill is going to be, I want to use a darker version of that color for the outline of that area. So all the fur areas are going to be using the same dark yellow color. I figure zombie teeth are green because everyone knows zombies don't brush 3 times a day. Once the line art is finished, I'm going to create a new layer underneath it and begin to fill in the basic flat colors that I want to build upon. There's a few different ways to go about this, but today I'm just using the Studio ink brush to make a complete outline, and then using the color fill tool by grabbing the colored circle at the top right corner of the screen and dragging it to the area I want to fill. For the shading, I'm going to create a new layer and put it on a multiply blending mode. If you want to stay inside the lines for this, you can turn it into a clipping mask, but I actually want a messier feel because the eventual goal is to build an animation rig that has more of a hand-drawn feel to it. I'm using a green color for this, and I'll put the layer on a lowered opacity. The multiply will darken the green, and the lowered opacity will give me some more control over the contrast and saturation. The brush I'm using for this part is called Hertz. It's another default Procreate brush in the artistic section of the Procreate brush library. My brush is also on a lowered opacity to make it easier to layer and texture without having 1,000 actual layers. My shadows and lights are going to be pretty basic for this drawing. Basically, any line or plane that could be considered as being underneath or on the bottom is going to be shaded, and any line or plane that could be considered as being on top will be lit. For lighting, I like to play around with different colors and different blending layers, but most of the time I will go with a lighter color on an add or color dodge blending mode on a lowered opacity. For this one, I actually just ended up using one of the lighter pinks with no blending mode. You can play around with whatever works. I'm trying to figure out whether I want him to have whiskers, and I try it, but I just don't think it works. All right, time to sign your name on whatever you drew. And there we have it, our Zombie Fennec Fox designed in Procreate. Let's export it to a PNG and bring it into Moho Pro to start making the animation rig, which is what we are going to start doing next week. So tune in then. We'll start building out the shapes and layer hierarchy in Moho Pro so that we can properly rig and animate our Zombie Fennec Fox. If you like this video, hit like and subscribe. I'll be posting a new Dice Doodles video every Friday with new characters as the dice demands, as well as my other animations you can see throughout the week, like the mundane life of John Orkman and the Eldritch Cuties. Have a great week, and may all of your rolls be crits.